6 wickets down, India about 140 runs ahead. What would be the ideal total that they can set the Australian team? All that and more with our cricket analyst in Sunil Gavaskar. Saini, firstly, I'd love to know from you, what did you make of the pitch here in Sydney? It's day 2 and we saw a total of 15 wickets to fall.
Well, to be honest, it's not the best of pitches to play Test cricket on, because a pitch which is, bouncing awkwardly, where the ball is seaming around, is not a very good pitch for Test cricket. If it had been a pitch in India, where 15 wickets had fallen, then the Australian, media and former Australian players would have been mourning and, whinging about it all the while too. So this is not exactly a great pitch for Test cricket. No, it isn't.
Okay, let's get into specifics. What do you think are India's chances? At the moment, we don't know the exact nature of Jasprit Bumrah's injury. We only know he's got back spasm. But if Jasprit Bumrah is not playing, let's take into account the worst case scenario. If Jasprit Bumrah is not playing on the 3rd day of this test match, what chances are you giving India to level this series?
Not too many, not too much chances, because without Jasprit Bumrah, it's going to be very difficult for India to win this test match. I'm not saying it's impossible, because, funny things happen in cricket. Prasidh Krishna, after having a disappointing first spell, came back brilliantly to bowl, to get rid of Jasprit, to get rid of Steve Smith, and then to get rid of Alex Carey. So, yes, I think if he bowls the way he did, then maybe he can be effective. But you need Bumrah for that initial breakthrough. And, Mohammad Siraj and Prasidh Krishna will probably not be the same effect that Jasprit Bumrah will bring in.
Okay, just to carry on from what you said, Saini, assuming Jasprit Bumrah takes those pain-killing injections, comes out for the sake of the team one final time in this series, comes out to bowl. If Jasprit Bumrah is available to bowl, what do you think would be the total that the Indian team would feel comfortable that they can defend in Sydney?
Well, I think a minimum of 185, which they defended in the first innings. So minimum, 185 or thereabouts would be a very good total for India to defend. Obviously, anything more than 200, 220 will put a lot of pressure on the Australians, because this pitch is not going to really get that much better. It will probably ease up a little bit, because it's a 3rd-day pitch. The grass will be shaved off with the sun coming in. The grass will also have died up a little bit. So, yes, I think it might get just a little bit better to bat on 3rd day, but it won't be easy. Irrespective of whether he plays or not, Saini, and if you take a look at day 2, for majority of India's bowling, Jasprit Bumrah wasn't available. What did you make of the effort put in by the rest of the bowlers? I mean, the fact remains that with Jasprit Bumrah taking 2 wickets and almost out for the day, they still managed to get the remaining 8 wickets and give India that 4-run lead. So great effort by the rest of the support cast, something that we haven't seen in the series so far. Very, very good effort. Very impressive, because, you could see that they were really giving it everything. Like I said, Prasidh Krishna, the first spell when he bowled from the far end, from the commentary box, he was bowling a little too short, wasn't quite getting the ball to get up to the shoulder level that was necessary on this kind of a pitch. So he considered a few boundaries. But when he came from the pavilion end, from the commentary box end, he certainly was a different animal, because he bowled well. He got the ball to curve in nicely, which is where he got Alex Carey as well as the outside edge of Steve Smith's bat. So, yes, I think he bowled well from one end. Sometimes it can happen that a bowler finds, one end a lot better to bowl in, because, the run-up, everything becomes a little bit smoother. You just feel confident. And maybe I think that's what India needs to keep in mind when they ask Prasidh Krishna to come in to bowl tomorrow, whatever score that they're defending.
Okay, Saini, I'm going to talk about Virat Kohli's dismissals. We've spoken about the technical aspect. We've spoken about the fact that, what is it that he could do differently, various other things, because, this is a recurring theme in this series. He's been getting out in similar fashions. 8-9 innings that he's had so far, all caught either by the keeper or in the slips. My question to you is, just a day before, we had Scott Boland come out and said that, listen, we have a fixed plan for Virat Kohli. We know that he leaves the ball outside the off stump to begin with, but once he gets a bit set, that's when he will nick one. And we bowl, once we know he's a bit set, we bowl in the fourth stump, fifth stump line, knowing fully well he's going to nick it. Now, this is a plan that the opposition has put it out in front of the world. Clearly, Virat Kohli also knows now this is the plan. My question to you is, why is it that Virat can't come up with a counter plan? Knowing fully well this is going to be their plan, why is he falling for the same dismissal again? What must be going through his head that he cannot think of a counter plan to ensure that he doesn't fall in the trap that they're setting for him?
Well, I think you can't do anything. It's a technical fault. It's not just a temperament fault. It's a technical fault because he's so much onto the front foot that he's not able to, when the ball bounces, he's just not able to counter the bounce. And so he ends up, hanging his bat outside and getting out. So it's not so much a temperamental thing. It's a technical fault, which has now, become embedded in his technique. So on pitches which has got a lot of bounce, he will struggle.
Okay, all throughout this series, we did not talk about Virat Kohli's future per se, but now that the series is over, he's played all the innings that he could have down under, averaging in the early 20s. My direct question to you, what do you think the future holds for Virat Kohli, the Test cricketer?
Look, I'm not a decision maker, so I think it's the selection committee will have to make a decision on what the future is. And Ajit Agarkar is one of those guys who will make a decision which is what Indian cricket needs. But what I've been saying over the last 8-10 days really has been that we need to look at who is going to be available for the 2027 World Test Championship final. The new cycle for the World Test Championship starts from the England series in mid-June. So you've got to look at that, and you've got to look at who will be available in 2027, who's likely to be playing in 2027, and take a call accordingly. So I think that is what Ajit Agarkar and his fellow selectors need to think about when they're picking the teams. Because look, this is the last Test match. Now the next Test match, if India win the game tomorrow, then they have a technical chance of getting to the World Test Championship final. And then after that is the tour to England. So I think, that's what they need to look at, who will be available for the 2027 final. Or more than available, who they think will be still selectable for 2027.
Moving away from Virat, the highest scorer for India, Rishabh Pant, 61 is what he got, which is why India are in a position that they could at least think of a win here in Sydney. What did you make of Pant's innings today?
Well, I think it was a knock which is something what you would expect from Rishabh Pant, the way he plays. What I liked about the knock was the fact that he was playing in front of the stumps. Front of the stumps, he's got the power, he's got the timing, and he can hit the ball a long distance. It's when he's looking to play the premeditated shot, which is the scoop or the reverse scoop, that he can get into trouble because he doesn't really have the kind of control over the shots like the front of the wicket shots are. And so his knock of 61 is actually what has got India to this current total. So without that knock, I think India probably wouldn't even be 100 today.
So I'm just wondering whether this probably should have been the approach, the kind of approach that Pant showed, ultra aggressive. This could have been the approach by the rest of the Indian batters. Was this the pitch where, you would have had a ball with your name on it? So the best way to get some runs here is play counter-attacking. And if this is the approach that rest of the Indian batting lineup could have also adopted?
No, I don't think so. I think this is the negative way of thinking that, look, my any ball will have my name on it. You have to be playing the game which is your normal game. What Rishabh Pant played was his normal game when he goes down the pitch and plays the lofted shot, when he plays the flick shot, when the ball is angled into him. So that's a normal game for Rishabh Pant. For KL Rahul to try and play that shot on the up, which is not his normal game, lost his wicket. For Shubman Gill, going down the pitch to Bo Webster, the first ball that he bowls is not a normal game. And they got out. You've got to play a game that you know which is best suited for you and for Test cricket. And if you don't play that, that's what's going to happen. The moment you start thinking, oh, my, any ball is going to get me out, so let me go and try and, get as many runs as possible, you're going to be failing more often than not. And that's exactly what's happened with some other players. Even Nitish Reddy towards the end. 16 minutes left before the end of the day's play. What are you looking to hit a boundary for? At that particular point of time, your main aim should have been to keep your wicket so that you're there for the next day. If Nitish Reddy had still been batting at the end of the day, you could have said, India's had a very good day.
We heard it from the horse's mouth, Rohit Sharma himself telling the world that this was a decision that he took in the best interest of the team. He thought that if he sits out, because he's not been informed, it'll only help the team perform better in the final test match. Now, that is something that we seldom see from a lot of players, let alone a player of the stature of Rohit Sharma. What do you make of his gesture to put the team ahead of his self-interest?
Well, look, I think it's probably the first time that you've had a situation where the Indian captain has decided that, he wasn't in good enough form to warrant a place in the playing 11. So this is something unusual that we have seen in Indian cricket. And like he explained, that it's the informed guys that needed to be there. The guys who are more likely to score, or more likely to take wickets, is what they wanted in the team, because this is the deciding game. India win this game, they give themselves a very good chance of qualifying for the World Test Championship final. So it was pure and simple, that kind of thinking that made him say to himself that he hadn't been batting well, not just in Australia, but even in the test against New Zealand. He hadn't scored too many runs. So he thought that it's best to make way for somebody like a Shubman Gill, who had batted well in Adelaide and who could get you a few runs.
The other thing, Sahibai, that Rohit has made very clear here is that, people may say whatever they'd like to, but in his mind, he still has a future in Test cricket. Who knows when his, form comes back. So he's keeping that door open. What I'd like to know from you, that is, or if Rohit Sharma rather would want to make a return because he's dropped himself, he's not in form, and how does he come back into the 11 without playing any cricket? What do you think should be the blueprint for Rohit Sharma to chart a return into the test match team?
Well, there's not much of 4-day games that are available. But if there are any 4-day games available, like the Ranji Trophy, if Mumbai do qualify for the knockout stages, he should be looking to play some matches for Mumbai. I know it's a little bit unfair on some of the boys who've been playing in the initial, the qualifying stages, for them, one of them to make way for Rohit Sharma. But in the larger interest of Indian cricket, I think if there is a spot over there, there's a place for him to play, I think he should be doing that, because that's the one way that he will be giving himself time out in the middle. It's not just about, playing 15, 20 overs or 35 overs in a 50 overs game. It's about, batting for a whole day, batting for 4.5, 5 hours and getting a big score. That is what is going to give him confidence for the test matches.
Right. Finally, Sahibai, before we let you go, a word on the wrecker-in-chief for Australia, Scott Boland again. Do you think he is the best fast bowler in the world at the moment who does not make the first choice 11 of any test team? We know that he only plays when a Hazelwood is not available. Can you think of anybody else as good as him who has to actually sit on the bench and only gets a chance because of an injury in world cricket at the moment?
Well, listen, the best fast bowler in the world is Jasprit Bumrah. So let's not get away from that. But whatever opportunity Scott Boland has got, he's grabbed them with both hands. He's what you would call a real professional bowler who bowls a very good tight line around the off stump, around the off stump in the fourth stump, making the batters play just about every delivery. Doesn't give them too many loose deliveries, excepting, for somebody like a Rishabh Pant who'll go step down the pitch and smack him for a 6. But it doesn't give any boundary balls to the batters. And so it's very difficult to score off on a pitch like this, which has got a lot of grass, which has got some bounce in it, and it's not the best of pitches to be a batter on.
Right, Sunny, we'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for taking our time, speaking to us live from Sydney. It's going to be an exciting day of Test cricket. Most likely the third day is also going to be the final day. But whether it'll be the Indian team that retains the Border Gavaskar Trophy, or does Australia finally rest that Border Gavaskar Trophy after a gap of 1 decade, we'll get to know on the final day of this 5-match Test series. I don't think fans could have asked for a much closer contest.